everybody.
Ciao.
so, so, I guess we'll
Sorry. Oops.
that might give Don't worry.
Well, things happen.
That'll entertain the audience at least a little bit. I'll get them happy. But just not too long ago, just a few minutes ago, I think we were about to do a different topic, but this one actually came up and it needs to be extremely addressed. And let me ask you this, audience, and this is something that a lot of people really don't ask. What was going on prior to this whole pandemic, and while the pandemic was going on, what happened afterwards? Well, we all know that. Again, I don't want to get this into politics, but I mean, on the surface, the country seemed pretty fluent. There was nothing to bag the president on. The whole country seemed to be unified and had a sole purpose. So
Things were going good overall. I mean, yes, there were angry protesters and people that were just haters and stuff. But other than that, things were going pretty great. Let's admit it.
Exactly.
Other than the haters complaining and the media just bashing the president constantly.
But it being an election. Sorry for the stutter. An election year. A certain party, let's just say, I don't want to say, or should we say what it is?
We will say that there's something fishy going on right now.
A certain
with BLM and politicians and the way they're handling them versus the rest of the people, and there's a lot of people on the right that are probably saying, okay, well, this group is being favored, and I can understand that. Well, we can understand that, but Eric came up with an interesting observation that he'd like to share.
So, given what you said, we see these. What does anybody else recognize this? Throughout this whole time, people might think that's just because the president was doing well with the market, and then they want to have the market crash and all that. I personally think it goes beyond.
Well, you have people
that.
like Bill Maher saying it's just got to bottom out, like something has to happen. Like, they were talking about how much they wanted something like this to happen, just everything to crash, to destroy Trump's presidency. Absolutely. That, whether you're on the right or left is irrelevant, but that is a fact. He really did say that, and a lot of people, anyone who's watched him or watched those clips of him saying that, saw it, and there's no denying that. I'm sorry. You can't deny the obvious. You can't deny what happened and what you actually saw and what you actually heard.
Yeah, exactly. And have any of you realized this, or even questioned this? Why is it that everybody is on lockdown? All this COVID-19 stuff is going on because you gotta stand social distancing, all these other rules. Make sure you stay 6 feet away from each other. this 6 feet, whatever. But then they're making, but then they're bending the rules for Black Lives Matter.
Mm-hmm.
They're bending the rules for this. And why do you think it is? If you think that it's because of the George Floyd and all these other things that are going on, from what I'm seeing, that's all wrong. That is 100% wrong, because no one, think of it here. If you know that there's a huge virus, and you know that if you are in contact with thousands upon thousands of people, that you're willing to get what is it, infected.
Oh yeah, droplets. Yeah, being a few feet apart. Or yeah, I mean they're all instructing us to be 6 feet apart.
So that way we stay healthy. But they're making blacks and BLM,
well, those groups,
come in together.
they're
and
encouraging it.
They're encouraging it, and primarily it's aiming towards black people, to be honest.
Yeah, it's encouraging the minority groups to come together. Like everyone else has to stay inside on the 4th, and that's what this mayor was saying. And the mayor in DC, was it DC?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I have to look it up.
De Blasio, is that what you're thinking?
Well, it's somewhere on the East Coast. It's either DC or it's might be New York. I don't know, but it's one of those places. But anyways, they're saying that people need to stay inside to celebrate the 4th. That they really can't come out in crowds and groups, but they're okay with protesters such as BLM and those guys doing their thing.
And they're smearing the riots as a peaceful protest, and these harsh crimes as, oh well, these are just whatevers, being passive. And I'm very much saying that I think that ultimately that there is huge, I wouldn't say a definition, but there are plenty of implications of ethnic cleansing. Because the reason why I say that is this: the president was getting a lot of the blacks and the minorities were all fine. They were fine. They were breaking away from all this. They were trying to find their own ways, and then all of a sudden they see this going on. And then again, you said we're seeing them in groups. And I personally think the ethnic cleansing is to make sure that there is no black race, and that they're infected, and that way their votes don't count at all. Because they know that in order to win a certain amount of to win the presidency, or to win a certain community, you have to, or like a certain people, you have to be catering and favoring that community. And so since a lot of black communities were saying we're actually going to go to the opposite, this COVID seems like it's like, okay, you're gone to those people. So I think this COVID-19 stuff, since they want Democratic blacks, and or like whatever blacks, since they want a lot of the specific people to stay indoors at all costs, but they want these other BLMs and Antifa to get into riots and heavy cases, to where they are going to increase, slowly but surely get contaminated left, right, and center. Because I remember seeing that, oh well, now all these people who are holding these protests, those protests now have those the infections and cases have skyrocketed. I personally think that this is a move of ethnic cleansing, if you ask me. And it ain't coming from a certain. It ain't coming from the right by the looks and sounds of it.
Yeah. Well, I don't, I always used to say this. I said this since, I think about 2017, that I don't really, or actually since 2016, I believe, since Trump was running for presidency, that I don't really think these, it seems like the elite, I shouldn't say it's all liberals or all leftists. I really want to correct that, but I do think the elites.
The elites, the ones
yeah.
up on top.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
do think they have an agenda, and they, unlike what the right people on the right think, I don't think they necessarily favor the minorities. I actually think, I think they're using them as their pawns. I hate to say it, to break it like that, but that's what I always felt. And that's why they're using them for all this, and they're manipulating them. I understand the historical sins. Those sins are very legitimate, and I'm not saying people shouldn't have strong feelings about those things in their history, but
by getting rid of that history, you're leaving it prone to be repeated.
Yeah, we don't, because by getting rid of these monuments and statues and things that remind us of those times, I'm not, maybe they do invoke strong feelings in certain people, but also they help people understand what happened, where they came from, and why the present is the way it is, and how we could steer it in a different direction, but also it helps us understand ourselves better, and like you said, what not to do, what not to do, and also to celebrate our victories, the things that we overcame. And we need that, and by erasing all of that, people don't remember who they are. And when you don't know who you are, when you don't know your roots, when you don't know your history, not only you're bound to repeat it, but you don't really have any roots. You don't have any, you don't have, you don't have as strong, you don't really have an identity, you don't really have a base.
And another thing that you said about the statue stuff and erasing history, like on that, you said something interesting, that it might evoke like some sort of pain or something like that. Let me tell you something. It's always good to feel pain. It makes you say, let's not do this again. So if it brings back painful memories, you shouldn't get rid of it then. You should always be reminded of that pain, so that way you know that not to bring that upon others and not to bring that upon yourself again. It's good to have guilt. It's good to feel pain. In those cases, it shows you that it prevents you from repeating the harshest of sins. And the harshest of actions. So that way, because pain, that kind of stuff, is meant to help you build your character and help strengthen your empathy. So that way you, maybe not identically, but you can say, hey, do you know what? There was a time when this happened. It is so freaking messed up. I don't want this to happen ever again. But the thing is that they're not letting other people go through that, making sure that they have those feelings, so that way it might artificially or possibly maybe even possibly naturally create like this new phobia of themselves, to be scared to treat others that the same way. You need that pain. Sometimes pain is good. It tells you what not to do. But we're saying, oh well, these bring back painful memories. That's good. You need painful memories. It disciplines you. But do you know what? By getting rid of all of this, people are going to justify those painful things, and all these painful things that they say, oh well, we shouldn't be reminded of. They're reminding themselves in the present. They're acting upon it like just like that. So in all honesty, these people and these actions are no better than those times that they're trying to erase. But well, what do you all, you have anything else in your
I
mind?
was gonna say right now I think we covered enough.
All right.
So do you have anything you want to add or?
No, but
Yeah.
what do you all think? Am I crazy when it comes to having this idea? Are we crazy having this idea that this was planted for ethnic cleansing, or
I don't think it was only that, but I do think that might be happening now. That I didn't even think of it. Eric actually brought it up when we were in the car on our way here. He goes, because we heard about this on one of the other personalities on YouTube talking about it, and at first initially you would think, wow, they're letting these protesters get away with murder, and they're telling us that we need to be like, in our homes and not go out and do anything. But when you stop and think about it, how does this virus spread? By going in crowds, at least according to what they're telling us. That's what they're coaching us not to do that, and now, but they're letting them do it. And is there an agenda behind that? That's the question. Do you believe, are we just smoking crack, or do you believe there's an agenda behind this? And do you think they are not only using them as pawns, but do you think they're also, that this is part of their plan to have them catch it?
Do you believe, audience? Do you believe, audience, that
if so, this is a very real thing. This is something we need to consider.
Do you honestly believe, audience, that BLM and all of their supporters and these movements are purposely being, slowly but surely evaporated? Like all the, do you believe that these people are that the media is allowing them to do this and make an exception because they want to get rid of these movements and everybody that's around them? Do they want to get rid of blacks? Or at least the Black Lives Matter activists who are getting up in crowds? It's not a shocker. I think someone's or something has a plan to kill these people. Otherwise, they wouldn't demand businesses to social distance and other families social distance. But these huge crowds, I think it's
They're also using him to create mayhem, and they're encouraging the mayhem so they can bring in martial law and potentially potentially the NWO, like it's all part of the plan. And if they could manipulate them to go take things this far, then someone's going to have to take over and take control, because they're proving that we're uncivil, we can't manage ourselves, we can't discipline ourselves, we're out of control, so someone else has to be in control of us.
I think that's a different
Well, that's
talk.
another thought, yeah, for future.
But what do you think, audience? Do you think that this is a modern day strategy of ethnic cleansing or not? Tell us in the comment sections. We'd like to know what you think. All right. See you next
Thanks.
time.